Once upon a time, in a small village nestled amidst rolling hills and lush forests, there lived a man named Samir. Samir, like many in the village, had experienced his fair share of pain and hardship throughout his life. He had always been a quiet and contemplative person, seeking solace in the natural beauty that surrounded him. One day, while taking a walk along a tranquil river that flowed through the village, Samir had an encounter that would change his life forever. As he sat by the riverbank, deep in thought, he noticed a small butterfly struggling to break free from its cocoon. Samir watched in awe as the tiny creature fought to emerge from its confinement. It seemed like such a fragile struggle, and he couldn't help but empathize with the struggling butterfly. As the hours passed, Samir continued to observe the butterfly's relentless efforts to break free. Eventually, it succeeded in tearing open the cocoon, and with great effort, it emerged, its wings still crumpled and weak. Samir was moved by the sight and realized that this simple observation held a profound truth about life. The butterfly's struggle was essential for it to become strong and capable of flying. Samir saw that, in his own life, he had often faced challenges and pain, much like the butterfly's struggle. These hardships had left him feeling weak and defeated at times. But the butterfly's story taught him that such difficulties were opportunities to grow and transform. Inspired by this realization, Samir decided to dedicate himself to a life of self-discovery and transformation. He left the village, bidding farewell to his friends and family, and embarked on a journey of self-exploration. He wandered through forests and climbed mountains, seeking wisdom and understanding from the world around him. One day, while meditating beneath the shade of a towering tree, Samir had a profound revelation. He understood that the source of his pain lay in his attachment to material possessions, his fear of the future, and his regrets about the past. These attachments and fears were like heavy chains that bound him to suffering. Samir decided to let go of these attachments and embrace the present moment. He realized that the past was gone, and the future was uncertain. But the only moment that truly existed was the present. He found a sense of peace and freedom in this understanding and was determined to share his newfound wisdom with others. Word of Samir's wisdom and teachings began to spread far and wide. People from distant villages and towns came to seek his guidance. Samir became known as the Enlightened One, due to the radiant light that seemed to emanate from him. He offered simple and practical advice to those who sought his counsel, encouraging them to turn their pain into power. Samir taught that suffering was an inevitable part of life, but it could be transformed into a source of strength and growth. He urged his followers to release their attachments to the past and the future, to let go of their fears and regrets. He taught them to fully embrace the present moment, to be mindful of their thoughts and actions, and to cultivate compassion and kindness toward themselves and others. One of Samir's most famous teachings was the Four Noble Truths. He explained that suffering was a part of life, but it could be understood and transcended. The path to transformation, he said, lay in recognizing the causes of suffering, letting go of those causes, and following a path of ethical conduct, mental discipline, and wisdom. Samir's teachings also emphasized the importance of meditation and mindfulness. He believed that through these practices, individuals could gain insight into the nature of their own suffering and find the power to overcome it. He often shared a simple meditation technique with his followers, encouraging them to focus on their breath and observe their thoughts without judgment. As the years went by, Samir's teachings continued to spread, touching the hearts of people from all walks of life. He became widely known as Buddha, which means the Awakened One. His message of turning pain into power resonated with people, and they began to experience profound transformations in their lives. Buddha's teachings were not limited to any specific religion or belief system. He welcomed all who sought wisdom and offered a path to enlightenment that transcended cultural and religious boundaries. People of various backgrounds found solace and inspiration in his words. One day, a troubled man named Raj came to visit Buddha. Raj had experienced great suffering in his life, including the loss of his family and the destruction of his home. He was filled with anger, bitterness, and despair. He approached Buddha and asked, "How can I turn my pain into power? My suffering feels unbearable." Buddha looked at Raj with compassion and said, "I understand your pain, for I too have experienced suffering. But it is possible to transform your suffering into a source of strength and wisdom. First, you must acknowledge your pain and fully embrace it. Only then can you begin to let it go. Raj listened intently as Buddha continued. Suffering is like a wound, and acknowledging it is like cleaning and dressing that wound. It may hurt at first, but it is necessary for healing. Once you have faced your suffering, you can start to release the attachments that bind you to it. Let go of your anger and bitterness, for they only keep you imprisoned in your pain. Buddha then shared the importance of forgiveness and compassion. He told Raj, forgiving those who have caused you harm is not for their sake, but for your own. Holding on to grudges and resentment only perpetuates your suffering. Practice compassion, for it is the antidote to hatred and anger. Raj, inspired by Buddha's words, began to follow his teachings diligently. He practiced meditation, cultivated mindfulness, and slowly started to let go of his pain. It was not an easy journey, but as he continued to turn his focus inward, he found that the power to transform his suffering lay within him. Over time, Raj's anger and bitterness began to subside, replaced by a sense of peace and inner strength. He discovered that he could still remember the pain of his past, but it no longer controlled him. He had turned his pain into power, just as Buddha had taught. As word of Raj's transformations spread, others who had suffered in their own ways came to learn from him. Raj became a source of inspiration, showing them that they, too, could find the strength within themselves to overcome their pain. The story of Samir, who became known as Buddha, and Raj serves as a timeless reminder that we all face suffering and pain in our lives. However, by acknowledging our suffering, letting go of attachments, and practicing compassion and mindfulness, we have the power to transform that suffering into a source of strength and wisdom. Just as a butterfly must struggle to emerge from its cocoon, our own struggles can lead to our greatest transformations. The path to enlightenment and inner peace is open to all, regardless of background or beliefs. And it begins with the simple but profound wisdom of turning pain into power.